Kerry Boulton is Australia's most respected exit strategy advisor and CEO of the Exit Strategy Group. Welcome to this week's segment.
So exit strategies, are they really about just extracting the money out of the business, or is it about getting the owner to be able to leave the business altogether? And I think it's really interesting because there are two sides to that, and it really just depends on the business owner themselves, what they want to do for the future, whether in fact they want to get the business up and running and have it so that they can be completely away from the business and having it run all by itself and simply be able to pay you a dividend. That's equally as good an exit strategy as it is to be able to actually sell your business. If you do want to move on and have the business running like a well-oiled machine, giving you a dividend, then you really have a great business. You have it positioned so that if a buyer does come along, you'll be able to take advantage of whatever negotiations may take place at that particular time. So taking the time right now, start to think about what it is that you want to do and how you really want to leave your business is really vitally important, because it's so different for every single person. It's a very individual decision. Some of the recurring issues that I see facing clients today really revolve around having systems in the business so that it runs like a well-oiled machine, and secondly, being able to get themselves out of the business. When the business is a key person dependent, that's the technical term for it, they really are simply less valuable than a business that actually can run on it with staff and the owner, the key person, is absent from the business. So that's just something that you really need to think about really closely, because a lack of systems and tasks and processes not being documented and tracked with KPIs in particular, so that you've created operations manuals around every process that happens in the business, that's a real value killer as far as the business is concerned. And as I said, key person dependence is really another core value killer that I see happening time and time again. People find themselves in a business that is actually more of a job for themselves than it is actually creating a business. So if I could recommend something to anybody, it would be to take a really close look at your own business. What are you doing to make sure that every single system and process is documented, that you've created an operations manual? You can do that so easily today with Google Docs, whichever way you want to record the information using very simple tools. And there's a really easy system for writing a system, and that's simply to go what the task is, why it has to be done, who has to do it, and that's not necessarily the person's name, that's a function, when it has to be done, and how it has to be done. And you can use, as I said, you can use screenshots, you can take videos, you can upload them into the cloud, and these are really easy ways to be able to make those systems available to everybody on your team. When do you implement your exit strategy? Well, if I actually was starting a business today, I would be sitting down and thinking about my exit. It would be part of my business plan right from the very beginning. But given that most people don't do that, then the best time to start implementing your exit strategy is right now. It does take time and it does take some work. So giving yourself enough time is really what you need to do so that you can exit your business on your own terms and on your own timeline. That another really crucial part of an exit strategy, of course, is understanding what you're going to do in the face of any adversities. And it's what we call a contingency plan. The 5 Ds actually come into play there, and you may have heard about these: death, divorce, disability, disputes, disasters. I don't know whether anyone has faced any of those, but I have. 3 of those have actually occurred in my own businesses over the past 20 years. And fortunately, we were in a position to be able to handle them because we'd thought about the contingencies that we needed to have in place at the time. So start thinking today about what you need to do to implement your own exit strategy. Have you had a look at your insurance policies? Who would look after the business if suddenly you weren't able to actually come to work for 3 months? What would happen to the business in those circumstances? Just a couple of little things for people to actually think about. One of the other issues too, of course, when you're looking at an exit strategy is considering what the financial needs, what your financial needs will be in the future as well. What sort of money do you need to be able to live on? What are your aspirations for lifestyle? What do you want to enjoy and create for yourself and your family more than anything as far as your future is concerned? Determining the best exit strategy is something that is near and dear to my heart because it's so different for every single person. There are things that you can have, and it really depends on the business owner at the time, how they look at their business, whether in fact they're going to be looking for a strategic buyer. In other words, could it be a competitor? Could it be a supplier? Could it be a customer that might want to buy the business? Another option could be a management buyout, perhaps particularly with the baby boomer generation, with such a huge number of businesses going to be coming onto the market over the next 10 years. One of the best exit strategies could be to have your employees or staff, in fact, buy your business and give you a chance in the business for a little bit longer. And in fact, I know of a couple of case studies, a couple of clients in the past who have chosen options, one of which was a management buyout, in fact, figuring that this was the only way that they were actually going to be able to sell their business. And it was a very interesting story because the negotiations at the time were rather rigorous, and sometimes you don't know which way that they're going to turn, but ultimately the business was purchased by a group of 9 from within the business, and the previous owner was kept on for a period of 3 months to act as a consultant, and then after 3 months he was gone. Of course, there were non-compete clauses in that particular case, but definitely the best out for the business, and it was really the only way the business was able to be sold. In another case, I have a client who, in fact, made a direct sale to a competitor. His main reason for doing that was that in the process of that transaction, he was able to guarantee that the staff would all have jobs. The competitor was actually able to bolt on that business to their own and expand. And that's one of the strategies that's often considered, and you get a much better multiple when that sort of process takes place, because the buyer is looking at how much value they can add to their business by taking your business into theirs. So determining the best exit strategy really depends on the business owner and your own values. When I sold my first business, one of the core tenets for selling that business, and one of my core values, was that I wanted everyone to have a job. I didn't want to see anybody without a job at the end of that 2 years that I had at the time. The only person who was out of a job was me, and I was quite happy with that because that's the way I orchestrated it. So determining what the best exit strategy really depends on your thinking processes and your values and what you want to do with your own life after your business.
If you don't have a copy of Kerry's new book, The Uncensored Truth About Exit Strategies, please visit freeexitstrategybook.com.au.